The short version is that my wife and I just bought a house in Rock Springs, Wyoming. If that's all the information you wanted, thanks for watching. If you want more details about why Wyoming, why Rock Springs, if you want to learn more about Rock Springs, if you want to see the house, then keep watching. I've driven up to a butte above town to give you guys kind of a bird's eye view of the city. Rock Springs is the largest city in western Wyoming. It's kind of in this valley surrounded by some buttes and mountains. It's high desert, and it is incredibly windy right now. Wyoming is a generally windy place. Rock Springs especially is a windy place. Let's get out of the wind here. Let's go back down off of the mountain so you guys can actually hear me and so that I can hear myself. I'm at this little park on the edge of town now, and I was just up there. That mountain behind me is where I just was. There's a pavilion here that I'm hoping will give me a little bit of a wind break. All right, so the plan for the last couple years has been to live in Montana, to move to Montana after Cassie graduated from college. But then my dad died earlier this year. He passed away at the end of June, and that made us kind of reassess our priorities, and we realized that it would be good to be close to my mom. Cassie's parents live in the east, they're kind of far away, but my mom lives in Utah. She lives in the Salt Lake area. My parents moved there a couple years ago. And so we wanted to be close to mom within like 3 or 4 hours. And southwestern Montana, where we wanted to live, is like 7 or 8 hours from mom. And so we had to figure out, okay, where do we go? You know, we have flexibility as far as where we live. Where do we want to live? Where do we want to buy a house? We ruled out Utah because we've both lived in Utah before. I think I've spent 9 years in Utah over a couple different stints. And I like visiting Utah. I just don't really want to live there anymore. You know, we've been there, done that. Cassie also has lived in Utah for quite a few years. Neither of us is originally from Utah, but we've spent quite a bit of time there over the years. So Utah was out, and so next up we thought, okay, how about southern Idaho or like southeastern Idaho? Well, that's where we've been living for the past 4 years, and we like it, but we just kind of wanted to change. You know, I wouldn't mind staying in southeastern Idaho, but I don't know, there was really nowhere in particular that really spoke to us. There are a couple nice places, like I like Pocatello, Idaho Falls is decent, I like Twin Falls, but we just didn't really want to live there. Okay, so what else does that leave? That leaves like western Colorado and kind of eastern Nevada, neither of which we really wanted to live in. There's really nothing in eastern Nevada, so that was out. And then there's Grand Junction in western Colorado, which I like, but I don't know, just didn't really speak to us this time around. I actually have wanted to move to Grand Junction in the past. Maybe we'll end up there someday, but for now, I don't think it's the right place for us. And so that left western Wyoming. And we ruled out places like Jackson because they're too expensive. We ruled out some of the smaller towns in western Wyoming like Pinedale, DuBois, Kemmerer, if you're familiar with any of these places. They're just too small, too isolated, too far from other things. And so then we looked at places along I-80. So I-80 goes east directly from Salt Lake City, so it's easy to get to Salt Lake. The closest town to Salt Lake in Wyoming is Evanston. I don't particularly like Evanston, so I don't want to move there. And so as you continue east from there, the next major towns or cities are Green River and Rock Springs. And so that's where we kind of focused our efforts. We would have been okay with moving to either of those places, to Green River or Rock Springs. It really just came down to where we found a house that we liked. So Rock Springs is like I think I said earlier at the start of the video, it's the largest city in western Wyoming, which isn't saying much. Wyoming is the least populated state out of all of them. It's roughly the same size as Colorado, but Colorado has 10 times the population of Wyoming. And so saying it's the biggest city in western Wyoming doesn't say much, but it is I think the 5th largest city in Wyoming. The population is about 23,000, and then Green River, which is about 15-20 minutes down the road, has another 13,000. So together, they're about 35,000 people. Not huge, but for being in the middle of nowhere in these parts, they're decent-sized towns. Green River especially has Walmart, Home Depot, Harbor Freight, TJ Maxx, Ross, Petco, Planet Fitness. It has all of those things. And that's really something that we wanted. We wanted convenience. You know, you live out in these small towns and it's great, it's quiet, but it's kind of a pain if you have to go anywhere, and especially if we're having kids in the next couple of years. There is a hospital in Rock Springs, and so that was important to us. And also, because we're not super passionate about living really anywhere right now, like houses are expensive, we don't really want to buy a house in most places right now. We thought, okay, let's live somewhere that's relatively cheap, and Rock Springs is cheap. And then as far as Rock Springs, the town goes, it's kind of, I mean, it's not all that interesting of a town, to be honest. It has sort of two sections. There's an older, kind of decaying downtown area, decaying but still kind of charming, and I think slightly on the upswing, but there's that area with like older houses around it, and that's where we live. We like older houses. That's where we bought a house. We like the charm of the established neighborhoods and everything. And then there's another part of town, like the west side of town, which is sort of newer. That's where all the big box stores are and that sort of thing. As you've seen, Rock Springs is high desert. The elevation is about 6,300 feet, which is about 1,000 feet higher than Denver and almost 2,000 feet higher than Salt Lake. Very cold winters here, dry, but you know, we're used to that. In Eastern Idaho, where we've been living, very cold winters there also, and winter is my slow time of the year. And it's nice to just kind of stay home more during winter. And Cassie's a homebody, and so, you know, as long as she has a house that she likes, which we do now that we bought the house here, she's happy. And so we had never really thought about or planned on moving here, but it just worked out. You know, we're 3 hours from mom now, straight shot down I-80. And who knows how long we'll be here for. The plan, I think, is like 5 or 10 years. We'll see. Then maybe we can maybe then we'll move to Montana, maybe we'll go somewhere else, I don't know, we'll see. It is a pretty isolated city, like there's really nothing around, which I like. I like that it's not connected to a million other cities. I like that it's not just endless suburbs. But, you know, there's not a whole lot to do here, which again, for me, because I travel so much, I go to a lot of really interesting and beautiful places. Not a big problem if there's not a whole lot to do in town. And like I said, Cassie is a homebody, and so she's happy just being home with our dog and doing the things that she likes to do. And so we don't need to be entertained in a place. I've seen people online say, yeah, there's nothing to do there unless you're into the outdoors, which I am. So thankfully we have that. Within about 45 minutes, we have Flaming Gorge Reservoir, which is a large lake on the Wyoming-Utah border. A really beautiful place. And Rock Springs itself is about halfway between two of my favorite places, two of my favorite mountain ranges, both of which are in my top 10 favorite places in the western US, those being the Uinta Mountains in Utah, which is the highest mountain range in Utah, and the Wind River Range in Wyoming, which is the highest mountain range in Wyoming. So the Uintas are an hour and a half that way, the Wind Rivers are an hour and a half that way, and so it's really fun to be that close, especially to the Wind Rivers. The winds are just amazing, and this is the largest major city close to the winds. There is a college in town also, I forgot to mention that, Western Wyoming Community College, I think that's what it's called. That's over there, I can see it on the hill over that way, but overall, I like Rock Springs. It's not for everyone, it's a little bit rough around the edges. I saw one person online refer to it, or describe it as wind, sand, and meth. And I think it's a little bit unkind. I think that, you know, if you're looking for meth issues in the United States, you know, I think that's probably every small town, but I like it. And Cassie likes it. It's a nice little spot. I think it'll be a good home base for us for the next however many years we decide here. And speaking of that home base, let's go take a look at the house itself. So the house is definitely livable as it currently is, but it's 100 years old. This house was built in 1922, so it is exactly 100 years old. I'm in the living room now. When we bought the house, the floor in here was all carpet, and we pulled up a corner of that, found out that there were hardwood floors underneath, which we were really happy about. And so now we have the quite large task of refinishing these floors. We're gonna try to do it ourselves. They're decent floors, they're just stained. Lots of stains. And the previous owner was a cat owner. And so I don't know if these stains are water stains or if these are cat urine stains. It still smells like cat pee in here. So that's not great, but that'll eventually go away. Getting the carpet out was a big step in helping with that smell. Big, beautiful windows in here, nice natural light. So the plan is to redo the floors. The plan is to redo the walls. The plan is to remove the drop ceiling. This is some sort of kind of weird tiled ceiling. There is a plaster ceiling about a foot above this. And so we're gonna raise the ceiling. And one thing that I'm really excited about is that we now have internet as of yesterday morning. It is incredibly fast. We have gigabit internet here with about 700 megabit per second download speeds and about 40 or 50 upload speeds. Just crazy fast internet. And then we have a bathroom over here that we'll paint and redo at some point. Bedroom here. This was all wood paneling when we bought the house, and we've removed that. You can see here a hole that we punched in the ceiling to see if there was a real ceiling above there, and there is. So that's good. The plan is to remove all the wallpaper. Actually, the plan is always evolving, but you can see we peeled back some wallpaper to see what was underneath, and there was wood paneling. So I think the plan, as it currently stands, which is of course subject to change, is to remove the paneling and then have it drywalled in here. Again, we're gonna raise the ceiling, and same deal in the living room. I think we're gonna have them re-drywall and raise the ceiling in here. And then another bedroom that is tool storage for the moment. Off of the living room, we have the kitchen. It's a small kitchen, but it will do the job at some point. We will paint the cabinets and get new countertops and everything. We've already removed the cabinets that were right here. We have a little breakfast nook, which I love. And we removed the cabinets just because it was a little bit cramped and it feels much more open now. And then down the stairs here behind the door, we have the basement. The basement is finished. On the left, we have the washer and dryer. On the right, we have the furnace and boiler and everything. And then we have at the back a little open kind of second living room area, a half bath off to the left, and then another bedroom off to the side here. The basement here was finished between 2016 and 2018. They did it in a couple different stages, so obviously much newer than the rest of the house. And that's about it for this house. I'm not gonna show you the outside, and I wanna keep some privacy here, but I say this house because there's actually a second house on this property. It is a completely separate detached house. It is another house. So let's go show that to you. And so welcome to house number 2. So this is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath house. It's a smaller house. And obviously there's paneling on the wall that at first my initial plan was to paint over to fill the cracks with joint compound and then paint over it. And I've done a test panel here with 2 coats of paint. I'm gonna do another coat or 2. I think that'll work okay. But then I realized that there's actually a wall behind the paneling. I've removed the paneling from here, and there's this green plaster wall behind it. And so the plan now is to remove all of the wood paneling in here. It is quite a throwback. But anyway, there's a little dining area. I'm standing in the little living room area. We got a little kitchen over to the side here. And then there is a bedroom back here. So we have not moved in yet. All the stuff that you see is just stuff that Cassie and I brought here in our cars when we drove here over the weekend. Like that bed, for example, is an air mattress, and this chair here, this IKEA Powong chair, is one that we had in the apartment that we weren't really using. And so this is all just kind of bits and pieces. We haven't really moved in yet, and we're not going to for a little while still. Cassie is still going to school full-time, and so she can only really do stuff on the weekends. And so anyway, we'll eventually fully move in to the place, but really it was this back house that sold us. A few months ago, well, months ago, we joked to each other, Cassie and I joked that we each needed a separate house because our styles are different and, you know, I need space for my work and everything like that, and it would just be convenient to have two houses. Lo and behold, we found a property with two houses on it, and so this back house is actually going to be my office. This kind of living room area will be the office with my desk and chair and everything like that, and then the bedroom is going to be the studio where I film YouTube videos, where I'm not like out doing something. Like if I film a how-to video or an instructional video, an educational type video, I can do that in there. I'm gonna have like a table that I can put stuff on, and lights will already be set up and everything like that. So this is gonna be my work from home space in the foreseeable future, in the short term for the foreseeable future. But the nice thing is that, you know, I'm a YouTuber. It's not the most steady income in the world. And so if we needed to, if we fall into financial difficulty, then we can just rent out the back house and cover most of the mortgage. So it's just nice having that little bit of peace of mind if we need it, but really it's nice to have a separate house that I can work in. And again, when we start having kids, it'll be nice to work from home, but separate, you know, be separate. The kids can be screaming and playing and whatever in there, and then I can just be in here working, and there's no commute. It's really nice. And so anyway, we're happy with our two houses here in the middle of nowhere in a kind of a rough and tumble small city in western Wyoming. Won't it be nice to get rid of this paneling here, have nice white clean walls? I'm gonna work on that this afternoon. And on the channel here, I'm not gonna really talk more about the house. If you do want to follow along with some of the renovations we do and the things that we change, I'm gonna be having occasional update videos on Adventure Know-How, which is my monthly or yearly membership website. So if that kind of thing interests you, go ahead and join the site there, and you'll have a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look at what we're up to here. And of course, you'll have access to my map of free campsites and a map of where I've filmed videos in the western US and all that good stuff. So go check that out if that sounds interesting. That's at adventureknowhow.com. And also doing that helps just support the channel, helps make sure I can continue to make these videos. YouTube revenue is fickle, it's inconsistent, but having that kind of consistent baseline from Adventure Know-How is very helpful, is very important. So if you enjoy these videos, that is a great way to make sure they keep happening. And then going forward, as far as the SUV RVing adventure videos are concerned, I'm gonna have a little bit more Colorado and New Mexico just because I'm now closer to those places, but it's gonna be a mix like it always is. You know, I'm still gonna have Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana. I go basically everywhere in the western US at least once a year, so I'll still go to Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona. Keep watching, you'll see all these places pop up eventually. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, Rock Springs, not for everyone. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's not necessarily the prettiest place in the world, but that doesn't matter to us. It all just depends on what matters to you, right? What things are important for you, and for us, this ticks all of our boxes for now. So thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys soon in the next video. Be sure to check out Adventure Know-How, my new site, where you can gain access to a map of all of my free campsites, plus monthly bonus videos that you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at adventureknowhow.com. And for links to everything else SUV RVing related, visit suvrving.com. Links to these sites and more will be in the video description.